Whether the team is giving us the highest of highs or the bluest of blues, we'll cover it all here on Commanders Nightly News. I, of course, am your host, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. Let's get to tonight's lead story. So yesterday, Ron Rivera spoke to the media, and I told you I was encouraged by what I heard. He sounded a bit ornery, and that's not any different than when he jumps on the media and then, tries to talk down to the fans about, leaving the past in the past and judging them on what they're doing now. He didn't do that. And I, as Ron would say, I appreciated that. He didn't go the route of, hey, we can't help what's happened in the past. We want to move forward. You judge us on what we've done, because if you want to be honest, if you want us to judge you on what you've done, you haven't done shit since you've gotten here, okay? You went 7-9 and 7-10, so that's 14-19, and then you've started the season 1-3, so that's 15-32 in 2 and some change years here in Washington. So you can't even use that as something to kind of talk about it, use that as a talking point when referring to the fans and people that want to keep bringing up the past, or as they like to call it in the organization, ghosts of Christmas past. Anyway, Ron talked, and I told you that I felt a little bit of urgency from him, something that he's lacked. After the game, if you listen to Ron, you would have thought we won that game against Dallas. I mean, look, I'm not saying that you have to take every loss and be extra pissed off, and because there's a balance, right? And we weren't terrible against Dallas. This didn't feel like the Philadelphia loss, but again, it's a loss, and we looked terrible on offense. We didn't look terrible as an entire collective unit. And so I think he felt positive because of some of the things that I mentioned yesterday that he felt like he could take from the game and start to maybe implement those things moving forward. That said, in his comments yesterday, the one in particular about, the fans and how they feel and things of that nature, I thought there was an opportunity there for him to take culpability, because he made the statement that we should be better. This is year 3. He didn't say this is year 3, but in essence, he was saying we should be better. This is year 3. I expected us to have some lumps and some growing pains in year 1. We won the division. We didn't see that coming. Year 2, he knew that this team wasn't ready for what was to come in year 2. He knew it. And remember, he told us before the season started that he had some concerns over lack of maturity from some of the players on the roster, mainly Montez Sweat and Chase Young in particular. But they weren't the only ones. And he talked about the lack of maturity that he felt like was on the roster. And he could probably forecast that we were in over our heads. And there were a lot of people making, ridiculous claims about what Ryan Fitzpatrick was going to do for this team and how much further along they were in the process. And we all knew, for those of us paying attention, we knew the truth. This roster wasn't ready, and Ryan Fitzpatrick wasn't going to do much of anything. And again, we can't say that with 100% certainty because he never really got the chance, but there was a large enough sample size. There was a track record that preceded Ryan Fitzpatrick that let us know he wasn't going to change anything here in Washington. So that is what it is. But there was an opportunity when he spoke and he talked about, we should be better, which we should be better. That's part of the thing that I feel like most fans are disappointed about is we expected to be better this year. And again, they still can be. There's a lot of football left, but this looks like the same movie we've seen already in 2020 and 2021. It just seems like the same as we've become accustomed to with Ron. Like, we've seen this movie. All you're doing is you're putting it in and you're rewinding it and we're watching it over again. It was 1-5 in year 1 after starting 1-0. It was 2-6 after starting 2-6 or 2-2 in 2021 rather. We've seen this already. We've seen these starts to the season. You win the first game, you lose the next 5. You win 2 out of your first 4 and you're 2-2, and then you lose the next 4 and you're 2-6. We've seen this before, and so we feel like we're trending in that direction. And he's like, we should be better, and they should be. But I thought there was an opportunity there for him to say, and us collectively as coaches, players, staff, all of us, we've got to be better. as coaches, we've got to do a better job of putting these players in positions to succeed. We've got to do a better job of overcoming some of the, shortcomings of the roster. We've got to do a better job of overcoming injuries that are being sustained. We've got to do a better job because that approach means there's no excuses. Find a way to get it done. But instead of him doing that, he didn't take the blame 100%. And he didn't take the road that I felt like needed to be taken at that particular time. He decided to start blaming injuries. Newsflash, Ron, everybody's got injuries. Okay? Every single team in the league is dealing with injuries, some more than others, some injuries more significant than others. But everybody's dealing with injuries. And you want to know something else? The injuries that we're dealing with, they're significant, but it's not as significant as some injuries that other teams. There's no injury in this league more significant than the loss of your starting quarterback. The Cowboys are playing without Dak Prescott. The Cleveland Browns do not have Deshaun Watson. There's no loss in this league greater than that of your starting quarterback. Both of those teams have a better record than us this season. And you can't talk about level of competition. You can't talk about injuries or this, that, and the third, because I don't want to hear anything. Once a team doesn't have their quarterback, that's that. That's not our situation. We got our starting quarterback. You want to talk about Chase Young not being available? You want to talk about the unfortunate situation that occurred with Brian Robinson and how that altered, what maybe you wanted to do from a philosophical standpoint? Fine, I get all that. You think other teams haven't had monkey wrenches thrown in their plans to start the season off? You think other teams haven't had to deal with injuries like we have to key players, key contributors? We're not the only ones. The Chargers have ample injuries. They've got plenty of excuses they could be using. Their quarterback has a fractured rib. Their best pass rusher is out for the foreseeable future. Their starting left tackle is done for the season. Nobody wants to hear. Their best receiver hasn't played since week 1. Nobody cares. Figure it out. They're 2-2. By the way, with all of those injuries, they're 2-2. The Browns are 2-2 with Jacoby Brissett at quarterback and could easily be 4-0. Should be 3-1, no worse than 3-1. But they're 2-2. Nobody wants to hear about injuries. The Cowboys don't have Dak Prescott. They didn't have half of their receiving crew. No Michael Gallup. No James Washington. Half of the guys that were there last year are gone playing somewhere else. Half of the offensive line is shuffled around. You lose your left tackle, Tyron Smith, before the season even starts. Guess what? Figure it out. They're 3-1. Nobody wants to hear about injuries. Everybody's got them. Figure it out. That was his opportunity to say, hey, we've got to be better as a staff. He didn't do that. I want to read a comment from a viewer and a fellow fan of this team. And I think this is a really, really good comment. So I want to read it to you. And I'm gonna try to flag it down. And I meant to already have this ready. But I got so caught up. But here it is right here. And it's 2 comments. I'm going to read them. They're a little lengthy, but bear with me. So they're from my guy, King of the North. King of the North writes, I appreciate your optimism. And this is in the comment section of yesterday's video. Okay. He says, I appreciate your optimism, Lou, and I think you're right. The team will try to build off of the fact that we've been mildly successful running the ball. I'm not sure these coaches, who we've all criticized for not making good adjustments, will be able to suddenly develop a new offensive identity. Besides, Louie, you have told us for years that Scott is not a run-first guy at heart, And our offense isn't built for smash mouth football, but more of a speed and finesse style of game. Logan Paulson and Chris Cooley have both been extremely critical of our play action scheme. Apparently, our O-line and wide receivers have very apparent tells when a run is coming. Also, when we execute Scott's favorite shotgun read option style play action on the O-line, pass blocks immediately after the snap, and the D-line just takes advantage of the extra second it takes to fake the handoff for a better pass rush. I noticed Sunday that the Cowboys defense didn't bite at all on play action, even though we were running the ball effectively. Can Scott get the play action cleaned up in a week? I seriously doubt it. He also writes here, I thought the whole purpose of drafting a wide receiver and trading for Carson was to get away from having to go on 12-play drives to score. It's too hard to score when you need 4 or 5 first downs and a penalty will destroy the drive. You have to have chunk plays in the modern NFL. The book is out on our DBs and teams will continue to test them. I don't think our defense can keep anyone under 24 points a game, and I'm not sure we can score 24-plus points relying on long ball control drives. There is also the issue of our easily rattled QB. Teams know if you can get pressure on Carson, he gets shell-shocked and becomes pretty much ineffective. Carson either has to develop some mental fortitude or we will have to bench him because with our defense, it's inevitable that we will be going to have to throw the ball to stay in ball games. We might win versus Tennessee using ball control offense, but we will have to eventually throw the ball downfield if we want to keep winning. If we are switching to a more run-heavy offense, I'd rather see Taylor in at quarterback anyways. At least he adds another wrinkle with his legs. So, I wanted to just address that. I wanted to talk about those two comments. Thank you for those comments, King of the North. I appreciate those. And the first comment, he talked about this offensive attack that I think they're going to try to deploy moving forward, which is more of a run-heavy type of offensive scheme, predicated on, getting downhill. I've talked about this line being a finesse offensive line. That was before the changes that have been made. Now, I can't speak now, and again, so sticking with the theme of injuries, we got confirmation today that our center, Chase Roulier, in fact, has had surgery and will be done for the entire season. So that is now a reality. We didn't think he was coming back anyway, but now that's been confirmed. Right tackle Sam Cosmi reportedly has a hand issue all of a sudden, and he may not be able to play. He's going to see a specialist to see, what the best, course of action for him to take is. And if that requires surgery, he's going to be out for at least the next, month or so. And so I don't think it's going to hurt us as much. What it does is it kills our depth, because after him, with Cornelius Lucas having to take Sam Cosmi's spot, after Cornelius Lucas, there's absolutely zero depth at tackle for us. So it really does put us in a bind. We don't have another guy that we trust putting in the game should something else occur. But I think in the interim, we'll be fine with Cornelius Lucas filling in for Sam Cosmi. But that's another potential injury. Obviously, yesterday Ron talked about Chase Young. He's not ready to come off of the PUP list yet. They're not ready to activate him and start that shot clock. So I already told you, I don't expect to see Chase for a bare minimum of another 4 weeks. I think the earliest we see Chase Young on the football field is week 8. That's my personal opinion and guess, but we'll see what happens with his situation. So anyway, I feel like with guys like Andrew Norwell, Sadiq Charles, Sam Cosmi, if he gets back in the lineup, I think you can run the football with those types of guys. Cosmi showed the ability to be a force in the run game last year. Sadiq Charles is more of I think, an athletic guy that gives you a chance to run the football. Half of my gripe with the offensive line was that they were too slow and unathletic. That's part of the reason our screen game is ineffective. We don't have guys that can get out to that second level, get to that linebacker, get to that safety, get a body on a body out in space. And so you're having these defenders beat the offensive linemen to the spot, and they're blowing up these screens. A great example was we tried a screen out there to, I want to say it was either Curtis or Jahan. I want to say it was Jahan Dotson. And the safety, Donovan, can't remember his last name, but he comes down and he makes the tackle. Nobody touches him because our linemen aren't athletic enough to get out there. So Sadiq Charles gives us more athleticism. So I think we could have a chance in the run game, potentially. But to your point, you know, you made another point about this team not adapting and adjusting to play action fake. That's been one of the biggest problems with our team going all the way back to the Gruden administration, is that the play action doesn't mirror the run game. So it's hard for it to work effectively the way it's supposed to. Our run games don't match the play action fake. It didn't when Jay was here, when he wanted to run duo, and then all of a sudden you want to try to run play action fake off of that. It didn't look the same. Same thing with this run game. You got to make it. The only reason play action fake works is it has to look like it's a run. It has to look like what you've been doing all game long. That's how you get guys to bite up. Obviously, you need to be successful with it. You have to get guys to bite up and commit to the run, take false steps forward towards the line of scrimmage, because it looks like what you've been doing all game long. That's why the stretch works so well, and the zone, outside zone, and all of those. That's why bootleg off of that works so effectively, because it looks like the same thing you've been running all game long. Our run game doesn't look that way. So it's just tough. As far as the offense being, 12 play, 6 minute slogs where you can't have any mistakes, that's in there lies the problem. That's the dilemma. That's what I was trying to run from. I think that's what Scott and company were trying to run from. And yeah, Scott's not a run first guy, but if Ron, just like Ron did during that win streak, if Ron tells him, hey, I want to run the football, he's got no choice but to run the football. So I think he's going to run it more out of necessity. And I think it may free up some things. But to your point, and we've been talking about this, that's why they went out and got Carson. I think here's the difference. With Carson, if the opportunity presents itself where Terry's streaking down the sideline like he was against the Eagles when he hit him down the sideline against Philadelphia, like he did when he hit him down the sideline against Jacksonville, he's going to be able to make that throw, whereas Taylor isn't. So I think that's where it kind of comes into play, the ability to get those chunk plays in there. But yeah, I think you are going to be, kind of reminiscent of last year where everything was a grind. Everything had to be perfect. You can't have any penalties, can't have any setbacks, because if you find yourself in 3rd and 9, you may not be able to convert. Yeah, we may be going back down that road again. And that's something that I tried to avoid at all costs. And I think they were trying to avoid it as well. But they may have, turned the corner and just made a one big gigantic circle and ended up right back in the same spot with just a different quarterback. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. This next game against Tennessee will tell the story as to what direction they want to go in, especially if Brian Robinson is activated and able to go. They'll then have what they are looking for, and then they will see, what the plan is moving forward. Is Antonio Gibson now, returning kickoffs? Is he now being utilized as a weapon instead of just more of a running back? We'll see. You'll see if they'll get to implement some of the things that they were planning to do when the season first kicked off, before Brian Robinson was shot, and they had to alter their plan. So I get it, and I'm right there with you. And I don't trust them, but this is all we got. This is all we got. So, in other news, Jonathan Allen was on the Junkies today. And I want to give a shout out to Super Trendy on Twitter at DMV Rail. Sent me this video of Jonathan Allen speaking, because I told you guys see a lot more than I do. I'm not on social media a lot of the time. I'm not listening to the radio. I'm not on YouTube watching videos a lot of times. I'm busy working, right? I don't have a lot of time, and the free time that I do have is usually spent, with family, right? The twins or whatever the case may be. So I don't have a lot of time to take in all of the things that are going on with this team, which is where you guys come in and you fill me in a lot of the time. So he sent me this clip of Jonathan Allen speaking about the fans and Ron Rivera. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to play you this clip from the Junkies. This was earlier today. Jonathan Allen has a weekly spot every Tuesday on the Junkies program that they've paid him to be their guest every single week. And he comes on, he speaks usually very candidly, and this was no different. And so what you're going to hear from Jonathan Allen is essentially him explaining why he believes Ron Rivera is a good head coach and what are some of his strengths as a head coach. And you're going to hear him talk about the fans. And I want you to take a listen, and then I'm going to react, and I'd love to hear what your reaction is to what he said as well. Take a listen.
Give me some things that Ron's really good at, that resonates with the players, and why you guys believe in him.
I think Coach Rivera is a great leader of men. I feel like any great head coach has to be that. And I think that's what made Coach Saban such a great coach, getting all of these 18 and 19-year-olds 5 stars to buy into one principle and go. Mm-hmm. And I think Coach Rivera is really good at doing that. The problem is, in college, that's enough to beat a lot of teams when you have more talent. In the NFL, just having everybody bought in isn't enough. Players still got to go out there and execute. So, me personally, I've never been a big fan of the coaches are doing this, the coaches are doing that, because at the end of the day, I'm the one who has to go out there and execute. My coaches aren't out there playing the double teams. I'm the one playing them. So, players, we just got to do better. Everybody has to do better. I don't think it's fair to put it on one guy, but him being the head coach, he's going to take most of the criticism. And, as far as the fans, I get it. I really do. I get their frustration. I'm frustrated with them. When the fans be having nasty things to say, you know what, so be it. Only thing I say is when we do get it turned around, keep that same energy. Mm-hmm. All those fans who aren't here now, and I get it. I understand the frustration. However many years, I understand. I'm not calling you out. I'm not saying none of that. But when things do get turned around, just understand. Just understand.
What does that mean? What do you mean?
He's kind of intimidating me through the phone.
Yeah. What do you mean by that?
I'm intimidated.
What was do you want them to not show up then, or come and cheer just as loud as you're booing? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, cheer as loud as you're booing.
Right.
That's a great way of putting it.
Right. All right. That's fair.
So let's break this thing down piece by piece. He started by talking about Ron Rivera and why he's a good coach. And, one of his strengths is being able to galvanize men, rally the troops, so to speak, get guys motivated to go out and play for each other as one for one common goal. Okay. And he always seems to compare things to his time at Alabama. And that's the gold standard for Jonathan Allen. That program is a mark of excellence. His time there, they didn't lose very many games, and Nick Saban is his gold standard for a coach. He's talked about it in the past that he still communicates with Nick Saban from time to time. So, like he normally does, he took the Alabama experience and compared it to this one here and talked about Nick Saban in particular and what makes him great as a head coach. He talked about what he feels like Ron Rivera does, and he says that it's pretty similar in that those guys can get you motivated. He said the difference is, and he said they're leader of men, which I've said, I think Ron is a leader of men. I know a lot of you don't feel that way about Ron, but I think he's a leader of men. I do think they respect him. I do think his message is received in the locker room. I think where there's a disconnect is you can get guys ready to play. You can get guys fired up and have them ready to run through a wall for you. But you still got to go out and coach. You still got to put these guys in the right positions to get them to make plays. And as Jonathan Allen eloquently put it, this isn't Bama. This isn't college, and the discrepancy in talent isn't as great. Every team in the NFL has talent. Some have more than others, but everybody can play at this level, right? At the NFL level. So you're not playing, the University of Wisconsin, Milwaukee, and you're drubbing them 73-7. Everybody's good up here. Again, there are varying degrees, but everybody can play at this level. So you've got to find a way to separate your team from the next team and give your team the best opportunity to win. And that's where I think Ron and company fall short. I've always said that I think Ron does a great job of this is why Ron's teams have never quit on him, and they will never quit, which is why anytime fans talk about tanking for this guy, they will never quit on Ron. They will never tune him out because Ron is an ex-player. He knows what it's like to be in their shoes. He can relate to them, and he'll never allow them to quit because he'll always be able to rally these guys and get them to go out and fight, no matter what. No matter if this team is 2-10, this team is 3-14, he's going to have them fighting. Okay? Or 3-13 playing their final game of the season, he's going to have them fighting. And again, Ron's never had a season worse than 6-10. So that's not going to start now. So Jonathan Allen saying that kind of fits with the narrative that I've been depicting this entire time. Doesn't sound any different. Then he got to the fans. And he talked about the fans, and you can't say that you get it. You can't say that you get the frustration of the fans in one breath, and then in the next breath say, but if you're on the other side, stay on the other side. If you're going to have that energy, keep that energy. You can't do both because that then shows you don't get it. And this is the thing with players. They'll never understand unless you've been a fan your entire life of this team, and then you made it to the league, like, for instance, Jared Patterson. He may understand because his mom is a massive fan. He grew up a massive fan of this team, and again, he's young, so he probably he doesn't know that this team once upon a time was an ass. He doesn't know that. And that's the part that sucks for a lot of the younger fans is that they've never seen a winner around here. They don't know what real winning looks like. In 05 and 07 and 2012 and 2015, that's not what real winning looks like. Okay, that's not what real winning looks like. Those were backdoor entrances into the postseason. All right, even 2012, when we got hot and won the division, that was still us back. That was 7 in a row to get from 3-6 to 10-6. The fans that aren't of a certain age have no idea what it feels like to be 7-2, playing in a big game in week number 10 or 11 as one of the best teams in football. Never been able to experience that. So it's tough. It's tough. But you can't say you understand and then get mad at the fans that spit vitriol on social media. Yeah, there's some fans that say some wild shit. I agree. Trust me. I get some of that. I get some of the venom from some of those fans. It doesn't bother me because I know the origins of their frustrations. I understand because I've lived it. So I can't even be mad at them because I know why they're frustrated and I know why they're angry and why they're saying the things. They're hurting. Hurt people hurt people. Okay? You've heard the expression before. They didn't make that up for no reason. It's true. And so you can't say out of one side of your mouth, I get that the fans are frustrated. No, apparently you don't. Because if you're going to then out of the other side of your mouth say that, but if you're on the other side, keep that same energy. Stay over there. I've always said this about fans, and I will continue to say this until the ship is righted and we don't have to have these conversations anymore. I'm going to continue to say this. Fans have a right to put this product down and decide they want no more of it. Fans have a right to be pissed off, say whatever the hell they want to say, as long as they're not being disrespectful and attacking someone's character. And there are fans that take it too far and attack some of these players' character. Okay? And talk about someone in a way that has nothing to do with football. That's when you've crossed the line, and anything that you get after that, by all means, have at it, you know. But if they're simply just criticizing the product on the field, you can't be upset. You can't be mad if they're not riding with you when you continue to get your teeth kicked in and you're down 22-0 at halftime and you're down 24-0 at halftime. We know you guys don't want to lose, that you're not going out there looking to get your ass kicked and beat, but you are. And it's frustrating to watch. You have to be able to understand the plight of the Washington fan. And that plight says that at some point, my cup overrunneth. I have nothing left to give. I can't keep doing this. I'm checking out, or I'm going to be so upset that I see red and everybody and anybody can get it, including other fans. And you know what I always say about those fans? When the ship gets turned around, when this shit gets right, you're more than welcome to come back. I always say that. During my live stream on Sunday after the game, I had a guy tell me he's now a Bills fan. I had another guy tell me, hey, I'm jumping ship. I'm now a Chiefs fan. These are lifelong Washington fans that are like, hey, I can't do this shit anymore. That's betrayal is what it is. But you know what? I'm not mad at them. They're sick and tired of watching a loser. And so they can't take it anymore. Some of us have more tolerance for this nonsense than others, and to each its own. But you always got to be willing to let the fans come back, because they've dealt with more of this than you can ever imagine, and clearly you don't get it. But I like how the Junkies saved him at the end, because he was going down a path. He put his foot in his mouth is what he did, and he realized it at the end, and they realized it, and they cleaned it up for him and said, you want them to come back and cheer as loud as they were booing. And he said, you know what? That's a good way to put it. You're right. That's a good way to put it, because you were going down a different road. That's not what you meant. And they saved you from yourself there, because you was about to say some shit that was going to put you in a totally different light. These fans adore you. They love you. You don't want to piss them off. Okay? You're one of the few guys that gets it around here and plays up to the level of his pay. And makes us proud to say, hey, he's a member of this team. But look, this is a fan base that's hurting right now. You don't want to piss them off. You don't want to piss them off. Be careful. Tread lightly. So, still love Jonathan Allen, and I get it. And most of these athletes, I've already told you the psyche of a professional athlete. Athletes always go in with the mentality of it's us against the world. Always. They're never going to be on the side of the fans, especially when shit's going wrong. They're always going to say, hey, I don't read social media, or, I don't care about what they say. I only care about the guys in the locker room. That's always going to be the mentality of players. And it should be, honestly speaking. But you also have to acknowledge the fan base. You can't be upset when they don't come and root for you when you say, hey, stay on that side. If that's the energy you got, stay over there. You can't be mad when they don't show up when you go out and against the Philadelphia Eagles in your first NFC East home game against a family member, you come out and you're down 24-0 at halftime. You can't be upset when you give them something to cheer about in week one and in dramatic fashion come back and beat the Jacksonville Jaguars, and then the following week on the road against the Detroit Lions, another team that you feel like you should beat, you're down 22-0 at halftime and surrender 36 points. You think they're going to just show up the next week and forget about what they saw last week on television against the Lions? You think they're just going to show up? That's not how it works. Because it's not just about this season. It's about the season before, and the season before that, and the season before that, and the season before that. There was 3-13 in 2019. There were 2 different head coaches in that season. 97 different quarterbacks in 2020. Case Keenum was our starting quarterback in 2018. Understand what we've been through as a fan base. Alex Smith shattering his leg in 2017. And then having to deal with a slew of quarterbacks, including Josh Johnson at the end of that season. 2016, getting your ass whooped by a Giants team that had nothing to play for in the final game of the season and missing the playoffs. Yeah, you got nothing to do with that, but we've endured all of this. We watched Robert Griffin III snap his knee in half in 2012 on that turf on a cold January night and watched him never be the same again. And not only did he destroy his career here in Washington, he destroyed the careers of all the coaching staff members here in Washington as well, in terms of them staying here in Washington. Those guys have gone on to be successful. We saw the clip last night of all the coaches that were here in 2011 under Mike Shanahan. 4 guys are head coaches in this league now, and very successful, I may add. Those guys could have still been here, or at least one of them could have still been here as our head coach. We've lived through all of this. We lived through Jim Zorn. 2 years of that shit. 2 years of that shit. Okay? So you can't come here in 2017 and you haven't won a damn thing since you've gotten here and expect the fans to just be okay with a lackluster 1-3 start to the season. And yeah, again, there's a line that you have to draw in the sand and say, hey, don't cross this line. I can't F with you if you cross this line. And there are fans that cross that line. And if you were just talking to them, fine, I get that. But it didn't sound like you were just talking to them, because there are a lot of fans that are faithful, that have been by this team's side through the thick and the thin, and it's been damn thin, dental floss thin for the last 2 decades. And they've been here every step of the way. But they've said some out-of-pocket shit. But it's been within the realm of this organization. It hasn't been attacking anybody's character. They should be allowed to say whatever they feel, because until you change the results on the football field, this is what you're going to get. I'm not going anywhere. He wasn't talking to me, so I'm not upset. But I'm trying to speak up for those who may be upset about what was said there. And trust me, Jonathan Allen means no harm. He wants to win. But you got to understand, this is a sensitive fan base right now. Half of the fan base is gone. And half of those people are never coming back no matter what happens with this organization, unless Daniel Snyder's gone. And even then, some of those guys aren't coming back because the name is no longer Redskins. So this is a fragile fan base right now, on edge. Just be careful. That's what I would say to any fan right now, coaches included. Be careful. And any players, I should say. I would say to any player, any coach, just be careful. The one thing you can do right now to make this situation better is to just perform better and win. Stop talking. Don't say anything. If you want to say something about the fans, say, hey, we appreciate all the support we're getting from the fans that are still here. You know, and we're going to make you proud one day. You guys keep supporting us. We're going to give you a reason to cheer. That's all you need to say. You know, we're going to be better. That's all we want to hear. Anyway, I'm giving away Titans tickets. So if you're a member of the MOBB and you're interested in the tickets, use the hashtag WinNow. This is a big one, okay? Use the hashtag WinNow. All right? WINNOW, win now. This is a big one. Week 5 versus the Tennessee Titans at the crib. Can't afford to go to 1-4 in the season. Got to try to get back to 500. This is the first step in doing that. Hashtag win now for your chance to win 2 tickets to the game on Sunday. I will also leave a pinned comment in the comment section of this video that will make sure that you understand what the hashtag needs to be. And so look forward to seeing your comments on what you have to say about the Jonathan Allen comments that were made, anything else that you felt like needed to be commented on in this video, and also looking forward to giving away these tickets. We will do that tomorrow night live on the CNN live stream. So for me, your man Louie T, thank you guys for joining me here on the program. Look forward to chopping it up with you guys tomorrow night live. Until then, you guys take care and have a good one.
Here comes the diesel. Here comes the diesel. There's the snap, hand to Riggins. Good hole. He's got the first down to the 40. He's gone. The 35, the 30, the 20. He's gone. He's gone. Touchdown.